This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, welcome to the Thinkorswim instructional video for the charting software from TD Ameritrade. And again, this is for the PALS Profits on Wall Street class. And for those that have used Q charts, you may find that Q charts much simpler, and this tool is a little bit more complicated. All right, and again, just to show you how to set it up to use it the way that we use it in Q charts for Profits on Wall Street. All right, so first thing, when you you got to have a TD Ameritrade account, and I'm not promoting TD Ameritrade, but you have to have an account to use Thinkorswim. The Thinkorswim platform can be downloaded once you have an account, and then once you have it downloaded and you log in, you get to this screen. So this is the main screen that is your home page or your main page. All right, so before you do anything, your screen will probably look very dark. I've changed the background or the look and feel of this so that it is not dark, and I'll quickly show you how to do that. So before we jump into anything, let me just quickly take you there. You hit setup, you go to application settings, and under the look and feel, you can see here under the color scheme, I chose light. I think the default one is dark. All right, so I changed it to light. Also the font size, I chose medium. Okay, so again, those are the only two things that I've changed, and the rest stays the same. So go ahead and hit apply setting when that's done, and then you can get out. All right, so now it should look brighter if that's what you want to see. Okay, so the three things that I'm going to share with you here on to set up the Thinkorswim is one, the workspace, and that will give you all the charts. And then two is the ThinkScript study, which is the ADX DMI indicator. And now the ADX DMI indicator has to be customized in Thinkorswim to look like Q charts. And so with the customization, it cannot be shared just through the workspace. It has to be shared separately. So I'm going to show you how to get that. And then also I'm sharing with you a watch list called market and sectors. So just to get you launched and started, you can have a watch list, right, to begin with. All right, so to the right of this, you're going to see, let me make it visible. So you're going to see some links here. So these are the links you're going to type in. All right, so the way to do that, the first one is the workspace. So we're going to pull these into our platform, all right, into our software. And so I'm going to click on setup, and I say open shared items, okay? So here you're going to type in this URL link, all right, exactly as it is. So we're going to open up the workspace first, all right? So I'm going to type HTTP. Okay, now make sure that it's exactly lowercase and uppercase everything, so that way there's no glitch. All right, so once I hit preview, and if that works, it'll show up, right? And then I'll hit open. So once you hit preview, you're going to hit open. So when you hit open, it'll tell you that the workspace has been saved as from PALS workspace template here. And so since it's been saved as this name, I'm going to change that so later on we can reference it. So you can always rename it. So we'll go ahead and rename it. When I hit rename, I get this window. So I'm going to rename it to PALS template. Okay, we can call it PALS template, or you know what, I'm just going to call it PALS workspace. Okay, can't type here. January 11th. So now remember this name. We can pull that up later. We'll hit OK, and so that should pull it up shortly here. All right, next we're gonna import in this ThinkScript study, and so we'll do the same thing as we did before. We hit setup and we hit open shared items. Now a faster way for me to do that, since I already have this link here, I'm just gonna click on it and it'll pull it up anyways. But for your sake, you're going to hit setup and open shared items, okay, and that will come up. So I'm gonna hit that and it'll pull up what we just did before, right? And this already pulled it up. I don't hit preview. and I don't have to type anything, and I'm just going to hit open. All right, so I hit open and it'll allow me to rename it. I'm going to hit rename again, and so we'll go ahead and rename this ThinkerScript study to, we'll call it ADX. We'll call it ADX and DMI. How's that? Okay. Or you know what, we'll call it DMI and ADX. Okay, and I'll hit OK. So remember that name. Later we'll pull that up. And then we'll also pull in the market sectors, right? Market and sectors. So again, the way to pull this up, you hit setup, and then you hit app open shared items. Okay, and then that'll allow you to type in the URL, and then you hit preview, right? But since I don't want to type it in, I'm going to hit this link that's available to me, and it already hit preview for me, so it gets to this page, and then it shows me, you know, that it's there, and then I'm going to hit open. Once I hit open, it'll allow me to rename this, and so I can rename this watch list to markets and sectors. So I can call it, you know, markets. We'll call it market and sectors. Okay, I'll call it January 11th so you can identify that. Okay, and I'll hit OK. Right, so now you could see the naming here, markets and sectors, January 11th, okay? All right, so now if I go under the screen, it'll show me all my personal lists or personal tables or charts, watch lists. And so I can see here, it says markets and sectors, January 11th, right? There's a bunch of different ones here, but this is the one we just named, all right? So it's there. Now, oops, I clicked out of that. So let me go back on. Now the way to go back on is under your taskbar. There is a Thinkorswim icon here. If you put your mouse over it, it'll show you all the windows that are open. And so I want to go back to the quote sheet here. So here's the quote sheet. And quickly, I'm going to help you show you how to edit it to make it cleaner. There's all these columns that are unnecessary here on the quote sheet. So the way to clean that up is we're going to hit this setup wheel. Okay, and we'll go customize. And then here it shows the list of all the columns, right? So the ones that aren't necessary, we're going to go ahead and remove. And you can just remove them one by one by hitting, you know, description we don't need. You can hit that and you could remove items. Now, if you want to remove multiple, just hold down your control key and we'll remove quote trend here. We'll also remove the bid size, the ask size, the volume, open, high, low, high, and then the 52-week high, right? We'll remove all of that and then we'll hit delete. Remove items. Now we have 5 things left, right? That's all we need. And the last thing that I want to add is, or another thing I want to add is a column for notes if I wanted to make notes. And so you guys might find it, you know, that you can use this. So hit notes here, it's in alphabetical order, and then we hit add item. All right, so now we have notes. And so that's all done. I'm going to hit OK, and so it'll look like that. And now it's cleaner, and I can size the chart, size the table based on how I like it. All right, and you could see I already have under here, it doesn't show it, but it's the notes section, right? And notes column, and there's nothing shown here. It's different from Q charts. Q charts has a comments column, and you can put comments in here, and it'll show your comments as as you put them in there. Here, it just shows an icon that we have something. So if I wanted to type something else, you know, under the NASDAQ, the composite index here, I can type it under notes and save that, okay? Here I've written something here for the S&P, so I can click here and it'll show test, right? So I can go ahead and cancel that out. All right, so that's done with the watch list. It looks fine. Now in the future, you're going to add more symbols, you're going to add more tables for different sectors. So the way to do that is if you want a separate table, another table, we're going to go to this menu section. We'll click on that and we hit detach. Okay, so again, click on detach and that'll give you a duplicate table. All right, so remember that function. We're going to do that, use that same function for duplicating charts as well. All right, so now we have duplicate tables, and we can make changes to our tables. And the way you make changes is, if I wanted to rename this table, I can just click on this menu here, I believe down here. Oh, yeah, down here, and I can go edit, and then I can edit my table. So, here's the market and sectors January 11th table that we named earlier, and we can rename that if we want. So we can rename that by changing the name here, and we can delete symbols and add symbols to this as well. All right, so let me go ahead and cancel out of this since we're not doing anything, and I'll go ahead and close these things down since we no longer need them. But for your sake, you keep them open, and you're going to save it later so that it'll be there for you. All right. So anyways, now that I've shown you how to import these tables, and now we're going to work on the workspace, which is our charts, right? So to pull up the workspace, we're going to hit setup, and the workspace is already imported into our system. So you can see here it says PALS workspace, January 11th. That's the one that we just imported. Okay, so you click on this. All right, so you should go to, again, setup, and find the PALS January workspace. Right, whatever you named it as, it's going to show up here. So you click on it, it'll open up. And so when I click on it, it'll open up the workspace that I have shared with you. And so the workspace that I have shared with you looks like this. All right. And so I'm only giving you one chart. And the reason being is we're going to make changes to this one chart. And when we make it the way that we like to have it, then we're going to duplicate it, right? And we're going to build different time frames. So I'm going to show you how to do that shortly here. Now also, when I put my cursor over this, the candles, the chart, something will pop up. There is a window that's called the data box that pops up. And so the data box looks like this. All right. And so the data box is similar, or pretty much the same as compared to the Q charts data window. All right. So when I put my mouse over it, I hover my mouse over it, it'll show me the value of what's on the charts. Okay. And the way to access it, if you don't, you want to make some changes or edit, you can simply right click on the chart, go to style, and then you see here it says data box, right? So it's currently on and the mode is fixed. So fixed just says, it's a fixed box. If I want it floating, which you don't care for that, the floating one will give you, it will float on your chart, which will cover up a lot of the data. So I don't like that. So I leave it as fixed so I can put it somewhere on my screen that I can always see it. And if you want to turn it off, you can hit off. All right. So that's how the data box works, or how to make changes. And so now that I'm done with the data box, I'm going to move it aside. All right. And now the next thing here, we're going to make changes to the charts. So first things off, I'm going to show you how to add on the indicators, the ADX indicators. So remember we imported the ADX indicators, right? So I'm going to right click on the chart, and I'm going to go to studies, and I'm going to go edit studies, I'm sorry. So I'm going to edit studies here, and I'm going to go look for the ADX, DMI, or I call it DMI and ADX. So remember we named it DMI and ADX. So here we see DMI and ADX. This is what we named it earlier, right? So we have DMI and ADX, all right? And then we're going to hit add selected. So again, this is naming based on what we named it earlier. We had to rename it. So whatever you renamed it as, okay, you're gonna look for that. And then I'm gonna hit add selected. So what it does, it adds another indicator all the way at the bottom of all the indicators I've already have, right? So here are all the indicators that I have currently on the charts. I just added the ADX. And before we save it, we're going to make some changes to these ADX indicators, because when you get it, it's not going to give you all the neat coloring that it's supposed to be. So we have to customize the coloring. So the DI plus should be a red color, and the width should be a 3. So we'll hit 3. And then under this color here, we're going to click on this box and change that to a red color. And there's a specific red color that I'm going to give to you to add. And so you're going to go to more, right? Hit more. And then you're going to go under this RGB tab. And under this color code, you're going to change it to FF0000. All right. And then you hit OK. And that'll give you the red color. So that should be the red for the DI plus. And then the DI minus, we'll change it to a green color. And we'll change the width to a 3. And the color here, we'll change that. We'll click on that and we'll go to more. And we'll go to RGB tab. And then we'll change the color code to 00FF00. And that will give you a green color. So it's kind of a bright green to reflect, to keep it consistent on our charts. And then also the ADX line, right? The width is a 1, which we'll leave. And again, this ADX line is a faint line that we normally use on ADX, and we don't need it to be bright and bold or anything. So I normally use the gray color, so I'm used to. And again, it's just preference. And I select this gray color under the black box. All right. And I will hit OK. So now I have everything adjusted for my ADX and DMI. And so I'm going to hit OK. And that will take me back to my chart here. And I can see the ADX indicators and DMI are changed. All right. So now you also want to ask, you might ask, what are these 3 lines here? So these 3 lines are just price markers or level markers, right? So this is the scale here on the right, and so it just tells you the value of ADX, basically the markers for the value of ADX. So the first line is a 50, 60, the next line is 60 and 70. So that's all. There's no real significance other than visually allows us to see where the 50, 60, 70 value is at as ADX approaches, to an extreme level. So now that I've added DMI ADX, I'm going to size the chart up to look the way that I want to size it. And you just put your cursor here and you can move, right? Hold it down and move it. Most of you guys like the price area to be really big. For me, I just want it to be slightly bigger, not too much bigger. So slightly bigger. And then I'm going to size this as well, right? And the Stochh and MACD should be about the same size. And the ADX DMI area should be slightly bigger than the Stochh and MACD. And again, don't be an engineer about it, right? Just kind of visually looks fine here, right? So that looks fine to me. And then I'm going to, once this is all done the way that I like it, okay, I'll also show you another function. So see how there's a lot of white space here. All right, again, I forgot to mention that this is a monthly chart. So what you're getting is a monthly chart first. And so you have here, it shows you the symbols target, and it says there's 4 years, 4Y, so 4 years of data of monthly candles. So again, these are the monthly candles. So we have a monthly done, and we're going to need a weekly, daily, 233, and so on. So let's get this monthly the way that we want to see it first, okay? And so here you see there's a lot of white space here. So if I want to move that, I can use this arrow, okay? And I can move it left or right, okay, using the arrows. So I can move left for more data to the left. I can move right, to give more spacing. All right, and then also you have a zoom in and zoom out here. So if you want to see it bigger, you make it bigger. You want to see it smaller, you make it smaller here. All right, and so you got all of these. This is how you use that, right? So this is everything looks the way I want it to look. Cool. So now I'm going to add on a different indicator, or not indicator, but I'm going to add on another chart. So the way to do that is we're going to click on this icon, and we're going to duplicate the chart by detaching. So we're going to go ahead and detach this chart, and we'll detach it, right? It's just like we detach the watch list before. We'll detach. Oh, you know what? Before we detach, let me show you something else. So I can make changes to the color of this background too, right? I just have it as a bluish color, but if you want to make changes, you go to Style, and then you go to settings. All right, and then under this appearance, you could see here under appearance, there's a background. So under background, there's this box that shows that it's the current color is blue. So to make changes, you click on it, and then you can change the color as you want. So if I wanted to change the color of this, I can click make it salmon color, right? And hit apply, and you could see the changes made to my chart. All right, but I'm gonna leave it back as the blue color. All right, and for some people that like to print the charts out, you can make the background white so that you don't use a lot of ink. All right, so I'll hit OK. We change it back to the blue. All right, now that I have it the way that I want it, I'm going to duplicate the charts. I'm going to detach it. So I'm going to detach this. And now that I've detached it, all right, what I'm showing here is, all right, so now that I've detached, what I'm showing is the same chart, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and move this chart aside. I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to make this change. All right, so we're going to change the time frame. So here you could see the time frame says monthly, MO for monthly. So I'll click on it. It'll drag down a bunch of different time frames for me. So at these two tabs here, you see favorites. So when I share this workspace with you, you're going to have all these time frames as well under your favorites, I believe. Now, if you don't, then you need to add these customized time frames. Then you click on this time frame here, and you can add them in here. All right, you can do that. And so I already have my monthly, so I need my weekly. So for the weekly chart, we're going to need 2 years of the weekly data. All right, so I'm going to go weekly, 2 years. Okay, so there's weekly, 2 years. I'm going to click on that. So now you see each candles are now weekly candles. Okay, and so I have 2 years of this data. And again, it's a bunch of blank spaces. So if I want to move it, I can show you how to move that, right? Right? And then you can size it, zoom in, zoom out accordingly to how you like to see it. All right. And then also in Q charts on the scale, you can do this. So it works the same as Q charts. But in Q charts, if we wanted to see the price, we want to scroll and move the candles, we basically drag the screen. We don't drag the screen here on Thinkorswim. What we do is we use this arrow, right, to move it. Right. If you want to move it fast, you can drag the scroll bar. Okay. All right. And so but if you start dragging the screen, it's going to mess with the scaling, and it can screw up the charts, right? So don't do that. All right. But anyways, everything looks the way that we want it to look right now with the ADX indicator and all the thing that's already there. Now that we've added this weekly chart, right? Looks fine. We're going to repeat the same process. All right. Again, we're going to repeat the same process, and we're going to add on the other time frames. So the next time frame we'll add is a daily chart. All right. So by the way, I forgot to mention we have 2 years of data here. All right. Why I'm giving you specific years to amount of the length of data to add, because if you add too much, then it's going to slow your system down, because each time you load it, it's going to load all that data. And for the sake of how we use it, we don't really need it beyond 2 years, frequently. And when we do, we'll change that so that as far as doing research and all that. Okay. So now I'm going to change this to daily. Well, basically you made this. I'm going to duplicate it, right? So always duplicate it before you make the change. So to duplicate it again, hit detach. So now I have 2 charts, right? So I'm going to move this weekly out, and I'm done with the weekly. And I'm going to change this now to daily. And so same process, click this thing, click this drop down menu on the time frame. And then under your favorites, you should have a daily chart that gives you 1 year of data. So look for daily here, 1 year. So you see that it says daily 1 year. Okay. So when I do that, it's going to change it to a daily chart. Okay. So nothing is different. We're going to repeat the same process over. All right. So now that we've done the daily, right, what you're going to do is you're going to duplicate it again, right? You're going to detach it and duplicate it, but I won't do that. I'm just going to show you the different time frames that you're going to select, all right, as you repeat this process. So you're going to get the daily chart, and now you're going to get the 233. Okay, so the 233 chart, you're going to need 180 days of the 233. So I go to the 233, right? I'm going to look for it. Here's my 233, 180 days. And this little icon here, the little clock like logo, just says that this is a customized time frame. So it's 180 days of data of 233-minute candles. Okay, so we'll select that for the 233. And then when you repeat the process again, you're going to put up a 55-minute chart. And you're going to do it for 30 days on the 55 minutes. So look for the 30 days for the 55 minute. So I have 55 minutes. Let me look for that. Here it is. So 55-minute chart here, there's 30 days. All right, so click on that for the 55-minute chart. And then next, once you're done with that, you're going to duplicate the chart again or detach it. And then you're going to create the 13-minute chart. And the 13-minute chart, you'll need 2 days. So here's the 13-minute chart with 2 days of data. You'll click on that. And then the last one would be the 5-minute chart, which is you want 2 days of data as well. So here's the 5-minute chart with 2 days of data. All right, so I'm going to click on this. All right, so just to show you, here's the 5-minute chart with 2 days of data. Okay, it says 5 minutes there and 2 days of data for target. And let me go ahead and scroll so you can see fill up the blank space there. All right, and again, if that's too big for you, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and that makes the chart a little bit smaller, the candles a little smaller. Now, in the 5-minute chart, I like to have a volume indicator, so I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so you could do, some of you may have a 1-minute chart, and you could put the volume indicator in your 1-minute chart. That's fine too. All right, but you don't need the volume chart or the volume indicator on all of the charts. Just one of the chart is fine. Okay, so I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to go to studies, and I'm going to edit studies. All right, and then to the left here, I'm going to look for the volume. So scroll down to an alphabetical order, and you go to volume. All right, so we're going to look for volume average. All right, and then we'll go ahead and add selected. And basically, it's going to add a volume indicator at the end, or at the end of the chart, or the last part of the chart, the bottom of the chart. And the 50 shows you that's the 50 average, moving average. That's going to give you an average line. I hit OK. And once I hit OK, I see the volume here. All right. And so everything on my chart looks fine now with the volume. There's the purple average line. You can change that color, but it's not important, so I don't really care about that. All right. But anyways, why I want to see volume is sometimes, there's spikes in volumes during the day that kind of tells me when institutions are, moving in on the stock or activity that's, being done on the stock. All right. But don't worry about that yet. Once you start learning more about it, then you kind of use it as something that can help you. All right. The sizing of it looks fine, so nothing needs to be changed. So again, I'm done with all of my charts. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and move all of these screens to size it the way you like for it to look on your multiple monitor system. Once that's done, go ahead and save it. All right, so the way to save it is you're going to go to the setup. This is your home screen, your main screen. So hit the setup, and then you see here it says save workspace as. So you hit save workspace as. Earlier we called it PALS workspace template. If I hit save, it'll ask me, do I want to overwrite that workspace template? Now, if you didn't want to create a new template, then you can go ahead and hit OK, then it will overwrite it. Right now, if you want to save it as a new template or a new workspace, then you rename it as a different name, right? So you don't overwrite it. Here, I'm just going to cancel because I'm not saving anything. All right, so I'm just going to cancel that. All right, and I think that's it. This is the end of the instructional video. If I've gone by too fast, it's a video, so you can go back and re-listen or scroll back to the part that you might miss. but I've shown you how to import all of these shared items and get it the way to work or get it to work the way that it looks like on Q charts. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy this and use it, and happy trading.